Meanwhile, in some diplomatic news now, Prime Minister Modi has left Kazakhstan for UFA in Russia to attend the BRICS summit. On his agenda, two key bilateral meetings, one with the Russian President Vladimir Putin and the other with Chinese President Xi Jinping. The agenda, a closely guarded secret though. NDTV has learned that no pressing issue, including the contentious border issue with China, is off the table. The Prime Minister's arrival in UFA, a city built on a historic Trans-Asian trade route, comes on a day when KV Kamath takes over as the first chairman of the new development bank at BRICS. NDTV's Vishnu Shom spoke to him ahead of the meeting. Mr. Kamath said that BRICS Bank is capable of being as effective as the World Bank.
Do you see the new development bank being an option or an alternative to the traditional Bretton Woods banks?
Well, it's going to supplement, complement all existing players. We will understand the needs of developing countries in today's context and partner with them. Otherwise, we will look at a collaborating role and a cooperating role.
Right. And sir, what about trade in local currencies? Is that a big priority for you?
Clearly, I think the developing countries have come of age or are coming of age, and we will look at what are the alternatives for funding ourselves. It's early days, but it is in top of our mind.
How would that be of use to India? As a last question.
I think for every country, if you can de-risk currency fluctuations, it's a great thing for trade as well as the country itself, and that's what we'll aim for.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. The role of international development banks is all important as far as this BRICS summit is concerned. We're joined at this stage by two of the leading bankers in their development banks, the chairman of the Exim Bank and the chairman of the Russian Development Bank. Thank you, gentlemen, very much for speaking to us. What is your top priority this time as far as this particular summit is concerned?
For the national development banks, this summit is of utmost importance within the framework of our cooperation with New Development Bank. And tomorrow, with the presence of the heads of our states, we will sign a memorandum of understanding on cooperation with the New Development Bank. We believe that with the background of our cooperation within the mechanism of interbanking cooperation of BRICS countries, our cooperation with New Development Bank will give a new impetus to enhance our cooperation and to finance or co-finance international projects.
Right. We've been speaking about New Development Bank and there's a great deal of excitement and buzz around that. But development banks from all the 5 BRICS nations have been speaking for several years. What role do you think that banks like yours can play as far as the New Development Bank is concerned?
Well, the Export-Import Bank of India wants to thank the host, Russia, and Vinesh Bank for excellent cooperation. And we really look forward to the directions from our national governments, and in whichever area the national priorities and the priorities decided by the heads will determine us. But Exim Bank is very encouraged by the investments made by the BRIC countries within each other, and we really encourage more trade between the BRIC countries. And currently the trade amongst the BRIC countries is only about 10% of their total trade, whereas, for example, trade within the EU is as high as 62% intra-EU trade. So I really feel that there is immense potential for the 5 BRIC countries to enhance the trade amongst themselves.
Right.
And I think that's where the growth will come.
A final question to you, sir. There is talk about trade in local currencies among the BRICS nations. Do you believe that that's viable? Do you believe that might actually be sealed this time around, or do you see that as a long-term prospect?
Of course, it's not the task which could be achieved within one or few years. It's a long-term project, but we have already started in our bilateral trade between Russia and China, and we don't see any bigger obstacles not to look forward to seeing that multilateral and bilateral trade between our countries will be sponsored by local currencies.
Right, sir. Thank you both very much for speaking to us. That gives you a broad idea of what several of the top world bankers are doing over here at the BRICS Summit as they try and engage the New Development Bank and take the agenda of BRICS forward.